Hello everyone, I'm Eiji Vilik, the founder of Self-Publishing Mastery, and I'm thrilled to be with you today for another episode of Self-Publishing Mastery Talks. And it is a really special one, I have to tell you this. We are going to go from Los Angeles to Detroit, because that's where our special guest is. And you already can see her. Her name should be familiar to many of you because Sylvia Hubbard is a renowned author, she's been doing so much stuff. She's a literary encourager. She's a busy mompreneur expert. She's a speaker at writers conferences. She's a digital strategist. She's a social media manager. She's the founder of the Modern Writers, and last but not least, she's an award-winning author. She wrote over 50 novels, and 7 of them were bestsellers, so they made it to #1. Please correct me, Sylvia, if I.
That's good. Yeah.
So I'm really honored and thrilled to have you here today.
I'm honored too. I am honored to be here.
And thank you so much for your time. I know you have 3 kids, so you are really busy.
Yeah, they take care of themselves, so that's pretty cool. And they're up in there, going up and getting out the house, so they have their own worlds now. So it's like, I can breathe a little,
Yeah, and you can create more worlds in your books, but
yeah.
Before diving into our conversation, and I can tell you that we have so many interesting topics today, so many things we can talk about, because Sylvia's experience and expertise as an author and entrepreneur is so vast that we could sit here for hours and talk. I know we could do that.
Probably.
But, if you want to know more about what's happening in Detroit, what's happening in Michigan, what's the secret of becoming a bestseller authors of romance books, and why the power of community and being part of a community is so important, and so many other interesting topics, you should stay with us until the end of this episode. But before diving in, I would just like to share really quickly how we met. So, and because that's an interesting story and it's hilarious too. So you as an author, you can set up a Google alert to let you know that somebody is mentioning you, or there's an article coming up about you and your book. So I had set up that alert, and that's how I found out that I've been featured on the Modern Writers website.
Right.
One of the webinars I did for Self-Publishing Con back in Europe was featured on the website. Sylvia was so kind and nice to do that.
Because it was great information, and I love, ever since I've been doing Motown Writers, I found other people have, we just trying to stick with in your own circle, it's not going to help you grow. So I've always ventured out and found other experts, because I may know stuff, but everybody knows a little bit more or something else or another take on it. So I love the article, and I was like, okay, so I'm always reading different articles, different blogs all day, all night. So when I stumbled upon yours, I was like, yeah, this is information that my people or my participants really have to know about, because it was well detailed, and I love the tips that were offered and insight. So yes, thank you.
Thank you. So it's about traditional media and PR and how to use it to your advantage as an author to reach more readers. So basically, if you want to see what's all about, you should go to the website, to the Modern Writers, and you'll find it there. But I was really happy, and I feel the same as Sylvia. I mean, the power of, connecting with other people and reaching out and forging new connections and helping one another. So I emailed her, and I invited her to be a guest. But when you go to the website, you will see that website is so rich in information, and the quality is so high, and you founded it like 20 years ago in
Yeah,
2000. Yeah, so I saw that,
labor
and
of love.
well, I want to hear the story. But I said, oh, so I picture her as this older lady, and then I looked at her author website, and I was, oh my God, she's so young, she's so gorgeous. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
that was another
That's so
great
sweet.
surprise. No, that I think that there is a problem with an older lady, but anyway, so we have here beauty and brains and a lot of talent.
Thank you.
Okay, so enough about my like me talking. Now you're the guest, so you're the one who's taking up the stage today. First of all, I know that writing was a passion for you since you were like really young. How did you turn that into a career and into a life?
So it was during the time, kind of like I was going through like a financial hardship, and I've always been, like you say, I've always been writing stuff. But you get to that part in the story where you're like, I don't want to go anymore. It'd be like almost done. You're like 75%, and you're like, let me stop, because maybe you start getting those doubts. Well, maybe people won't like it. I'll put myself out there, and they'll be like, oh my God, you wrote that and stuff like that. So I was like having a horrible financial hardship, and I was kind of complaining to my mom, like not really begging her for money or anything, just saying like, this is just so hard. If I just had an extra $100 a month, I would be okay. And my mom was like, well, you could just publish your book and then just sell $100 worth of copies. And I was like, Ma, it's not that easy. And then I got to get people to read the book, and that's a lot of work. And she was like, but it's just $100. Like, she was like, even if you sell it for $10, you just have to sell like 12 to 15 copies, right? And I mean, it didn't sound like, when she said it, it sounded like, oh, okay, if I could just get that $100 in the third week, fourth week, right before that first paycheck of the month, I would just be okay, like, because I was a single mom and I was raising 3 kids, and it was just a real struggle at $9 an hour. Mm-hmm. So I went out there and I published it, and actually it was funny because Amazon dropped the checks on that 4th week,
wow.
The 4th week that I needed, and that's what we would do. Me and the kids would just find ways to sell the books, because in the beginning it was so hard. Like back in 2000. It wasn't favorable to be a self-published author. You were like the scarlet letter was on your chest. As soon as you said you self-published a book, it was like, oh no, you didn't. So finding the information to sell the book, like literally you have to wake up and think, how do I put this book in someone else's hands? And I think authors or writers don't think that way. They're like, oh, they have that field of dreams. If you build it, they just come. And it doesn't work like that. If you publish it, they don't just come.
Yeah.
They don't just come at all. And it's a machine you kind of got to build on your own. And everybody's machine is different. And I realized back then they didn't have a lot of publishing or marketing news. So I would find other people outside of publishing the realm that was selling things, and especially online. Like when I started doing ebooks, a best-selling author, a New York Times best-selling author, told me back in 2002, these were her exact words, no one will ever want to read books off the internet, Sylvia, so you should stop doing that. I mean, literally, she said that to my face. And then in 2006, when Oprah had her little things that she gives away, she gave away Kindle, and everybody started downloading ebooks, I got a call, and it was in November of 2006. And then she was like, her publisher started pushing her to sell her ebooks, and she had no idea about any of it. And she called me up, and I'm glad my mama raised me Christian, because those words had really hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
Like, you will fail. Like, basically, she was driving a knife in my publishing thing. So I just started building like this thing, and then I found out that other people wanted this information. So and then I needed a database of all these articles I would collect from people, like all this marketing stuff and all this publishing stuff. And the information back between 2001 to 2006, there was so much information just pouring in that it was hard to keep track of it. So I was like, well, let me build a website where I could just do a search on my own. And then authors wouldn't tell me like secrets of how they did stuff. They were like, oh, you got to buy my book. You got to come to my workshop. You got to buy my courses. And I was 3 kids, and, you know, the government make you choose between feeding them and, you know, and your passion. So unfortunately, I didn't want to go to jail. So, you know, I would say, well, I have this website called Motown Writers, and I could do an interview, and authors would jump on it. They'd be like, oh, okay. And then they'll tell you all their secrets. They'll tell you contact people and things like, I was like, okay, yeah, this is going in the interview and in my personal notes.
Yeah.
So I put a subscription box on it because it was kind of like a fake website. I really wasn't trying to build an organization. I was just building a database kind of for me. So when I needed help, I'd go to the database and say, how do you do mailing lists? How do you do, you know, advertising? How do you build websites for authors? And then, you know, I would find all this information on my website because that's where I would put all this information. And then I was at this event offline, and this girl walked up and she was like, are you Sylvia Hubbard? And I was like, yeah. She was like, oh my God, I'm a member of Motown Writers Network. And I was like, a member? I didn't, we have members? She was like, oh my God. She was like, yeah, it's like a whole bunch of us. She's like, everywhere I go, everyone's like a member of the organization. I was like, I don't have an organization. Where is this at? And she was like, MotownWriters.com. And she's looking at me like, are you sure you're Sylvia Hubbard? And then I went to I'd never looked at the analytics or the subscriptions behind it. And I realized like I had like over 100 people have started subscribing to receive updates from the website, and they considered themselves members. Yeah.
So yeah, you had an organization, but you didn't know you had one.
And they were like, you don't know, this is so helpful. And, you know, and because I would find libraries that were having events, or, you know, and it was all Michigan stuff because it was nowhere to find this stuff. Or like if they were having like a author book fair in October and it's February, I'm not going to remember that. So I put it on the website, and when I'm ready to apply, I'd be like, okay, I remember I have that book fair coming up. And so they were like, it's just awesome. But, you know, it's kind of like I did it for my own selfish reasons, but it was kind of like a self-love, but selfless love for everybody else. You know, everybody else started joining. So right now on our mailing list, membership list, we have like over 100,000 send out. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know now that you're, I mean, despite the name of the website, you've got people from all over the place subscribing to your
they do
list.
And that's a great part. And I started, you know, of course we still feature authors. We still send out information about local literary events. We still, you know, have author calls where a lot of libraries, a lot of organizations will call me and say, hey, we had the Cancer Society, you know, they wanted to call out for authors who had books on cancer, and they wanted to make a literary platform. So they actually asked me, hey, can you help recruit authors? And so that was kind of cool. So other organizations have called me. So that was it's kind of cool. Like, you know, they refer to me as like the book person or the Michigan literary diva or something like that. So as kind of, I guess that's a like a nice moniker to say, you know, that selfless love has turned into like really it's just a labor of love. And people always ask me, well, why don't you charge fees, or why don't you charge this and stuff? And I always tell myself I'm going to do membership one day and stuff like that. But it's, you know, it for some reason, because I'm doing this blessing, it basically pays for itself. And then even when like we had lost our house, we got homeless in 2013. and our house burned down in 8 minutes. So
Oh
me and the kids
no.
were homeless for a whole year. We were squatting in a house, and I lost everything. If it wasn't in my purse, I didn't have it. And we it still survived. The organization was still running. My assistant, she just stepped up and she said, take time for yourself and I'll run everything. And, I took like 3-4 months off to kind of get the kids together because my daughter was graduating from high school. My son was just going and, smelling himself. And my little girl was just entering high school. So it was kind of like a pivotal time for the family itself. Everybody was good and we were homeless. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't know where the next meal was going to come from. We didn't know if we were going to keep the electricity or utilities on. I was unemployed and basically living on my book income at the time and still trying to run the organization, but it has just blessed itself and grown into this own monster of beautiful literary stuff that, it's a blessing to know that this was it's funny because even when I'm in circles and people don't know who I am, because I'll go somewhere and people just know Motown writers and they'll be talking about it. And it just sounds so wonderful. Like, I want to join this organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're like, oh my gosh. It was so funny because somebody was talking about me, running this. And they're like, oh my God, she does all this and all this. And I was like, I want to, and they hadn't said the name of the person. So I was like, oh, I want to meet her. I just want to do an interview with her. And they're like, oh yeah, well, her name is Sylvia Hubbard. I was like, what? Wait a minute. You're just talking about me? And they were like, that's you? And I was like, oh my God. So it's an honor to be behind something so wonderful that blesses people all the time. And I don't know, I'm modest about it because when people meet me, they're like overwhelmed, but it's kind of like, well, it's kind of breathing, it's just something natural that comes to me just to help people out, because we should all be an asset and not a lot of liability to the world. And if you can do something, then do something.
Yeah, that's a beautiful message, and I've noticed it on your website, and I put it in my notes to kind of share with the audience today in our interview. What a beautiful and amazing story, and how inspiring and how motivating, and it really shows that when we follow our passion and follow our hearts, no matter what hardships we may face at some points, or what challenges, we will find our way out. And people, they respond to, I think they respond to this selfless loves. Well, love is selfless anyways, but to all this selfless support that somebody gives them. So I think,
well, it was very, because even after the house burned down one day, and I actually 5 minutes before the house burned down, I checked my bank account and I had 68 cents to my name, literally 68 cents, because I was unemployed and the government kept shutting down. So all our unemployment checks were held up. So I was checking my bank account, and then the fire happened. And so I knew going to bed that night, like, I didn't know what I was going to do, how I was going to survive. And we were like, my dad took us in that night. And I just decided to just go to bed. I was like, I can figure it out in the morning and stuff like that. So during the night, somebody sent a message out, and they said, if Sylvia has ever helped you with anything, if you could just give her a couple of dollars. And they gave my PayPal address. Mm-hmm. And I woke up in the morning and it was a couple of $1,000 in the account from just people giving, just saying thank you for what I did for them over the years. And so I'm a testament to the fact that if you give, you will receive. It's not something that you have the power not to do. You're always able to do it. So I can say it worked. I don't know what I was going to do that day. My son was asking for shoes, and I knew I couldn't afford giving him shoes. And when I checked my PayPal account, I was about to have a nervous breakdown because he's like, Ma, I can't go outside, because I was telling him that morning, Like, let's get in the car, let's go find some money, let's go find some place to stay. And I kept telling him, Zach, get in the car. And he kept just saying, Ma, let me tell you something, Ma. And then I was walking out the door and he said, Sylvia. And you know, your mama, like, okay, I had to turn around because I was about to smack her. Like, I can't deal with this. We have nothing. Just get in the car. And he was like, I don't have any shoes. And I literally wanted to just have a nervous breakdown because I knew all I had was 68 cents. Like, I didn't know where I was going to get some shoes for him. And then I did what anybody else would do in a nervous breakdown, and I checked my phone.
Yeah, probably that's what they do nowadays, right?
Like I didn't want to have that nervous breakdown in front of him because he depended on me. I was a single mom.
Yeah.
Like everybody else, told him he was going to be a failure. So I was the only person in his life he could depend on. So seeing me having a nervous breakdown was not going to help him. And I opened up, the last thing was my PayPal account. And that's when I saw that money in there. And at that point, I knew everything was going to be fine. Like, yes, we don't have anything. Yes, we are going out in the world and, we have absolutely no material at all to say we have something of an asset, but we had each other and we could still give. And I think I still just gave. I think 2 days later, we had our second Saturday Motown Writers meeting. Everybody thought I was going to cancel it. And I didn't, and I showed up. I smelled like barbecue, but I showed up.
Who cares?
They were like, what? And I was still wearing the same clothes that I had to wear for 2 days.
Oh.
like, okay, I don't have any clothes, but I'm here. And they were like, oh my goodness, this is just, they're like, you didn't have to come. Like, you were fine. And I was like, this is my baby. I gotta come. So yeah, I've always had a meeting. I've always done it. So you do what you do, and get you through it.
Now I want to pack my bags and come and meet you in person, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing such a wonderful work, and thank you for sharing this story and opening your heart, because your message is so different from what I hear nowadays when it comes to an author's career, and I'm going to explain in a second. And obviously, you did your due diligence. You did your research. You improved your skills. That's because you told us that. But also, your approach is different, because nowadays I hear a lot. Oh, you need to write a book series. You need to put ads on Amazon. So everything in all these workshops and presentation, I hear about how to be successful as an author. I hear a lot about the financial stuff, a lot about the marketing stuff.
Right.
It's so devoid of soul and heart in a way. It's like a like
it
a
becomes a money
business. Yeah. While your approach is different, because we need to pay our bills, but at the end of the day, it is a project of passion. It is about empowering people, helping people. It's about the connections we forge. So this is a message that I'm really excited that you share with people.
Yeah, like you said, you do have to spend money to make money, but you have to understand that your time is also money. So in that spending money part, you do have to say, yes, there's currency and there's time, and you have to be distributing both of them. Matter of fact, you should be spending more time on others than you should be doing spending the money part, because actually when you spend more time as a currency, you get more money back to spend that. So I mean, why not do it when it's free, because you have it?
Right.
So you might as well use it on others, so then you can get more profit. Like you said, your passion will lead you towards the profit that you need in your life, and it works every time. I am a testament to it. So yes.
I know people who attend creative writing courses. They take those courses, or they they try to learn their writing skills. They try to learn how to be a writer. In my opinion, it is about having the gift and reading, like reading a lot of good books, and then these two
Right.
combine, and then writing. How did you polish your writing skills? How did you become a great writer?
Practice and reading, like you said, taking what I learned and then applying it repeatedly. And you have to be like, you have to consider yourself an Olympian, like you're trying to win that gold medal. So if you think about an Olympian, they get up early every day and they practice 2 to 3 times a day. They still live their life. They still go to their jobs. They still do what they have to do for their family. But they are every free moment, they are working towards that gold medal. So you as a writer, every free moment, you should be working towards being that writer. So if it's getting up an extra 10 minutes and getting at least 500 words in, and then, at my lunch break, getting another 500 words in, after work, after taking care of the kids, getting another 500 words in. And then before I go to bed, getting another 500 words. I've done 2,000 words that day, literally. And because of that, between all that, I'm reading stuff, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to my Kindle read books to me, and I'm finding ways to inch in every little time of my life. So in my mind, it's not 24 hours a day. And it's not even all these minutes that we get in a day. But if you start thinking about everything in seconds, you have a lot of seconds in a day to do a lot of stuff. And you end up really getting back time that you would and that you need in your life if you just think about it like that. So every time I had a free time, and I would give myself no excuse to fail. So if I wasn't writing stuff down, I had a digital pen, or I was recording it in a phone and transcribing it later. I found every little second counted. If I'm walking the kids to school, I'm transcribing half my story, and then going home and typing the rest out or something, or getting notes down, or keeping a calendar or something like that. But you give yourself no time to fail. And you recognize that hey, I'm lazy sometimes. I procrastinate a lot. But you literally try to prevent that. You parent yourself. You literally have to parent yourself. We get to 16 years old and we stay 16 years old in our brain the entire time until we die, because we always are like, well, I'm grown. I don't have to do that. We always have this problem. Even in our society now, we see that, people think they're grown and they don't have to do that, even when it's something they want to do.
Yeah.
They're grown. They're too grown for themselves. But when you're 8 years old and your parents said, clean this room in an hour, I don't care if it's 5 minutes before that hour, you shoving stuff under the bed, you got it done because your parents said so. So at 28 years old, you become your own parent, and you tell yourself, you need to write 5 minutes today. You need to write 10 minutes today. You give yourself rewards and punishments as your parent did you. You didn't write that 10 minutes, then you cannot binge watch on Netflix. Then you cannot eat that ice cream. Then you cannot go out with your friends because you did not do what your parent, your inner parent told you to do. And that's how we should live our life. That's how we should live our passions. And that's how we should raise our families and do our households, is to become an inner parent to ourselves to get stuff done. So that's what I did. I just became my own inner parent and told myself to do stuff. And I'd get up every morning and say, okay, Sylvia, this is what you have to do, or you don't get what you want. So I'd be like, okay, let me hurry up and get all the stuff done so I can get what I want. That's basically how I live, or how I still live.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Otherwise, you wouldn't do all of the things you're doing. I mean, there
You
is
wouldn't.
so much.
And I realize that sometimes, and I sit back as the kids are now like, doing their own stuff, and I don't have to be their parent anymore. I can start lessening the restrictions on myself as well. And I'm kind of getting scared because I feel like a teenager without any rules. Like, oh my God, I really don't have to do this. I don't have to feed people anymore. They can feed themselves. Oh my God, I can keep that money for myself. Oh my goodness, stop it. Like, I scare myself like, oh my God, I can sit in bed all day if I want. Oh my God. So it's like, I have to actually be more of a parent. Now that I have free time, you have to be more of a parent because you will, and people will say, and I used to make fun of people who were like, oh yeah, you retired, so you have so much time on your hands, and they still got nothing done. But that does happen. Like, the more time you get freed up, or the more unrestrictions or rules, or the older you get, you're like, I'm only responsible for myself. That becomes when you really have to start putting your foot down and saying, I still have something to do. I still have a business to run. I still got writing projects to do. I still got marketing and promotion to do all day long, especially when you're a self-published author. You're wearing all the hats. So you do have to still keep a schedule. You still have to write all your calendar items down, and you still have to, get up every day, sit in a chair in front of a keyboard and do some stuff. So yeah, you have to be more of a parent because you get dangerous as you get older.
And I mean, life can be enjoyed at any age, and we can learn and try new stuff at any age. And anyways, I can't imagine you, Sylvia, ever not doing what you're doing or stop writing. I can't imagine that.
I hope I never, ever, ever. Yeah, I hope I never, ever, because I love it so much. And I think that's what makes me be who I am. Like, it's my breathing. And like Asimov said, if you told me to stop, I would die. And actually, I did. I left my first husband because he told me I had to stop writing. And I went through so much with him and tried to stay with him for so long. When he finally gave me that ultimatum, I brought the boxes the next day. I started packing up, and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna leave me for that?" I was like, you know what? That was my key to say, I can't be in this situation anymore. You can't ask me to cut my arm off. And he's like, but it's writing. I was like, I can't do it. I can't not write, because that's me. It's me. It's my personality. It's like, cutting my head off. I can't do it. So I lost a husband over it. So, hey, okay. I know what I love. I know it. And even my kids, they even were, and people do say that, they're like, how are you a single mom? And, your kids are running in the room. They're bothering you, and they're doing, well, I have to thank my mom, because she knew I loved to write. She knew, and she said, well, Sylvia, you need to raise your kids around you instead of you trying to raise yourself around your kids. So if you are a writer and you want to write and you don't want that child to bother you, well, take care of the child's needs and know that while you are writing, this is your need, and they have to understand and they have to respect that. And that's why I do talk to a lot of single, busy moms, because your kids have to respect that this is an income we bring into this house. Every time you come in that door and bother me and cut off my word count, you are taking away from the household. So I can't write that 2,000 words a day and get that book done in the amount of time and publish it. So I'm missing out on that money. So because you opened that door and you were crying about your sister staring at you, you owe me that money that I lost. So I got cabinets to clean. I got garages to sort out. I have floors, corners. I have a lot of toothbrushes that you can go all over the house. So the kids understood when that door was closed, unless you are dying, do not open it. If you're dead, you can wait till I finish the chapter. So it's
that's true.
It can wait. It's not going anywhere. And then I made them responsible for their own actions, and the money that came into the house. It's not just about my money. It's about what you allow me to make. So
Mm-hmm.
every time you interrupt me, every time you do bad in school, every time we have to work extra hard on something because of you, this was part of the household. And I think a lot of single parents do need to get their kids involved in, if this is my small business and I'm trying to work a 9 to 5 plus a
Mm-hmm.
small business, plus take care of a household. If you can reach across the washing machine, you are responsible for some chore in the
Yeah.
house. And
Mm-hmm.
and I bring in $1,500 into this household. I only spend maybe $20 a month on myself.
Yeah.
You owe me that money back. So every light you leave on, every food
Mm-hmm.
you waste,
Mm-hmm.
every time the floors are not clean, and then we get bugs because of it, because you
Mm-hmm.
decided not to clean up after yourself. And then I have to spend money to get everything cleaned up. Then that's your responsibility to the household. They had to learn how to parent themselves, and become their own inner parent. And that's how I raise the kids, and that's how I teach everyone else. Like, just, everyone needs to take responsibility for themselves from the time you are aware that you want something. And once you know you want something, which is at 2 and 3, when you recognize a want, you know that you want that, not just need it, you want it, then you have a responsibility to yourself and everybody else around you to take responsibility on getting that want, getting that need, and helping other people. So it's point blank. I
Yeah.
know I'm preachy. I'm preachy. I'm sorry.
No, I mean that's really, I think that's really useful for especially for our viewers who are, as you said, the single mothers. And I know this is one of your favorite topics. You are a public speaker as well, and I know this is one of your topics.
It's a
Uh,
passion. It's
yeah,
actually a
yeah.
passion, because I realized writing was so passionate to me, and raising
Mhm.
and being a mom had to be a job that I had to love, in order to make productive
Mhm.
human beings
Mhm.
in this
Yeah.
world. That's something that, so it became a equal out situation where I am going to be the best mother, so then I can write more. So the better mother I am,
Mhm.
then the more I can write.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it kind of it
Yeah.
kind
They
of
work
works out
together.
for me.
Mhm.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
works out, because
Yeah.
after they get like 12 and they start, smelling themselves, they're like, I don't want to be bothered. Well, I don't want to be bothered either, because I
Either.
got something to
Yeah.
do. Well, thank you. I don't have to do this. Okay, good. So it was like, they were very, and to this day, they've always been respectful about me being a writer. They'll come over and they'll see me just sitting in the living room, just typing. They no bother. Later on, if they see me not typing, they come and tell me about their day, because now they've gotten into the habit. If I'm typing, I'm working. It's not just I'm playing at the computer or something like that. I'm working. When I'm on Facebook, I'm working. I'm not there to socialize. I'm there to sell books somehow. Even if I'm answering somebody's personal
Somebody's.
question,
Mhm.
this is a way for me to network
Yeah.
and for me to get them to where I need them to be, which is buying a book off of Amazon. That's all I'm doing. That's my whole goal.
I'm going to make a note to talk about conscious networking and bonding with people from a from a honest and an open place. As
Yeah,
is,
we don't do that a lot as
yeah,
authors.
I want to talk about that, but before that, I want to ask you another question, and that is, what nurtures your creativity? Because we all, like as writers, we have the muse, right, or inspiration. So what, and that inspiration needs to be nurtured, and it
I
needs
would
to
say
be
Detroit.
okay. Well,
I would say just the interesting side of being a Detroiter,
mhm.
being a mom, and just being out in the community. We can say so much as writers, but we still need to find those human connections in order to bring those characters to life. We still need to find fault and mechanisms of how and why people made decisions. So being out in Detroit and hearing the stories and seeing what's going on in my community, and even helping people in my community, has helped me to see people in a different light. You do make bad decisions. We're all going to make bad decisions at 2 a.m. when that phone rings and we know it's somebody we should not be talking to. Oh my goodness. We have all, I believe at least 90% of the population have made bad decisions at 2 a.m.
Yeah, don't pick up the phone at that time. No, never, ever.
But what I like to, and as all writers do, we need to find out the why in order to connect our characters that we make up to that reader that is reading. So when they do read that story, they're like, oh my God, that almost happened to me. You know, I almost got into that car. I almost went off with that guy. You know, what, and I like to take that what if we did it, and then push it just a little bit further and further until we're almost at the edge. Like, and because we always want to know, well, what if I did give him my number? What if I did, you know, go to that party? What if I had, you know, joined them for drinks, you know? So I like to push the boundaries of where we feel, you know, is wrong, but it could possibly be right. And the decisions we make, yeah, it does get us in trouble, but in the end, we learn from our mistakes and we grow, you know? And I try to bring that to my stories. I try to make sure people know we're going to make bad decisions, but it's not a mistake. They are never a mistake. They are choices. So we do make bad choices and we do make good choices, but you're either earning or learning. And that's all you have to say, is that you can go on from that. What doesn't, like, literally, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So it's never a mistake. And I've always said that, you know, to people when they say, oh, I made a mistake. You know, you own that. Own your mistakes, because that's what's wrong with us now. We don't own our mistakes. We don't own our choices. You made a choice. Everyone makes choices every day, and we never know what's going to happen. We never know what the outcome is going to be, but just own it and say, hey, I did it. And you know what? I'm still alive after it, and let's keep going. So that's what I do in my books, is that I make my characters own it. You know, you got to own that mistake, own that bad choice, own that, you know, that phone call you shouldn't have answered in the morning.
Yeah, totally.
And you keep going. You just keep going and work it out from there, and then let the chips fall where they may, and then work with that. Find some dip and just dip the chip and keep going.
Why romance?
Why romance?
Yeah. Of all the genres.
I was 12 years old and I was in the library as usual, and I walked past this Fabio cover, and I know you're aware, you know, the Fabio covers where, oh my God, that was like a gift from God. And I was only 12 and I saw this Fabio cover, and I wanted this book so bad. And of course the librarian wouldn't let me check it out. So I did what any Detroiter would do, and I stole it. I returned the book like 20 years later. I just dropped it off at the library and left. But I stole that book, and I read that book, and it just changed my life. I love the happily ever after. I wanted it again and again and again. And even though it was, you know, it's the same formula, but in like a billion different ways. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool that you can take one formula and just make somebody feel amazing for like 3 days. You're just reading it. So I said, I want to do that. I want to make amazing books, but I want people like me in the books. And I said, I can do it. I can write a happily ever after. And it took a while, like I had to practice it, but yeah, I love happily ever after. So yeah, even in Detroit, you got to get it.
I'm sure you can get it anywhere. I mean, it depends on us so much, on who we are and on our perspective on life
and how we own it.
Yeah. So yeah, I believe it can happen in Detroit for sure.
I just haven't found Fabio yet, so I'm still searching.
I have a hunch he's on his way. I mean, he's not too far away. I have this hunch.
Yes, that's how I got into romance. And then of course I love suspense. I found out by the time I was graduating from high school, I love murder mysteries. I love the suspenseful factor of trying to put my characters in jeopardy somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
So I combine that into a great story. So it's like an urban intrigue kind of thing, you know, and it goes into dark romance sometimes. So yeah, I love it. I can't get enough of it. I could write, you know, all the time if I could, but keep them going. So it just come to me. So.
What are you working on right now?
So right now I'm working on a live story. It's called He Touched Me. And every week or every week and a half, 10 days, I try to drop a chapter to my readers. And it's basically about a woman who's going through kind of like the end of a relationship when she finds out her ex-fiance slept with her mother. Then she meets this stranger who actually inappropriately touches her by mistake, and it leads to something else. And so she searches out the stranger, and they decide to make an arrangement and find ways to have fun together while she's trying to figure out, you know, the rest of her life. And she realizes that her mother and ex-fiance were trying to kill her anyway. So.
Wow, I want to read this. So how can we get the chapters?
So they can always go to my website at sylviahubbard.com and subscribe to my blog. And they get chapters, like I said, every 10 days. We drop a chapter on the blog, or they can just start at like sylviahubbard.com/he-touched-me, and they can start from literally the beginning of it and start catching up with us. So I have like about 100 readers now. It's like 150 readers joining me every time I drop a chapter. So that's pretty cool. I try to do 2 of these a year, 2 live stories. And usually by the end of it, I'll have like up to 500 readers. Wow. You know, and they vary. So it's always varying depending on where I am in the book. It starts getting good and everybody just jumps in, or some people just wait knowing I am writing a book. So they'll wait till I get to the first arc of the story, and then they'll jump in and start catching up and reading. So it's kind of cool.
But this book eventually will turn into you will release it as a book as well.
Yeah, it will release it as a book as well. So what I do is I write all the way up until like the crap hits the fan moment. And then if you are a subscriber of the blog, so people pay, I think it's like $14 a year. So if you're a subscriber already, you'll automatically get the rest of the book. But if you're not, you have to wait for the book to be released on Amazon, and then you can get the book from there. So that works out pretty well for people who are subscribers. And then they also get like Christmas boxes. They get reader treats and things like that all throughout the year. So it's kind of good. For $14, you know, it's worth any reader's time who likes it. Yeah, so it's kind of cool that they subscribe and everything. So people do, they wait for the end of the book to come, and then that's kind of cool. So,
yeah, that's a great idea. I just love it. I have another question about your books. And so as I said earlier in our introduction, 7 of them became #1 bestsellers. What do you think that made it happen? If you look at your other books, what was different, or what did you do different for those books?
A couple of them were live stories where the people were like, we had a whole bunch of readers just waiting for it to drop. So like instantly and I had actually put the pre-order link up right away. And then I scribbled down like the rest of the book. I was working like really fast on 2 of them where I just hurried up, finished it up, got it to the editor, and then we released it. And like instantly they became #1 bestsellers because they were like, people just ordered that pre-order link. Like it was like going out of style. Like it was scaring me. I thought they were like reporting wrong numbers when I saw it. I was like, you know how you refresh the page and you're like, this is a mistake. They can't be really buying this book. And so that was pretty cool. a lot of other times, I planned it out. I got book bloggers involved. I did book tours in advance. I sent out reader copies. So it's always the planning. I would always say, if you really want to be a great bestseller, plan it out at least 4 months in advance, at least a minimum of 4 months in advance if you want a really nice opening day for your book. And then it even leads to a wave of even after that of having great book sales. So yeah, it's a plan. You really have to put that pre-order link up early and just getting the readers involved in, sharing it out and letting people know about it and keeping the momentum going. So I would say make it a plan 4 months in advance and just get on there. And even now, like back in the day, you couldn't even do it as a self-published author of pre-order links. You would have to first do the PayPal link out and then change it over to the Amazon when it became live. So they make it so easy. You can do up to a year in advance. And I was like, this is awesome. Like when they said a year, I was like, are you serious? Do you know how much work I used to have to do for a year in advance? So I think like they make it so easy now, and I kind of get mad at people now. Like, do you know how much work we had to do in order for it to happen? Like, but now but then it makes me mad because like people are not taking advantage of it. Like a year in advance, you can have a nice easy opening, for your book, a nice easy release day, whereas before you couldn't. So take advantage of these opportunities that are out there. And I mean, they literally fall in your lap. Like, and you just have to have the preparation of it, have your blog post ready for your bloggers, have your release kits for your readers, have your release day, checklist done, way in advance. And, the sales do come, so yeah, I love it. It's always been fun. And even release days are just amazing to me all the time. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got another one. Yay.
Do you do in-person release event like book launches? Do you like those?
Well, yeah, I do. Yeah, well, not now. Well, now I've been doing like small book club meetings now over like through Zoom. That's been pretty cool. Like, I'll have all the members sitting around, so it'd be like 5 people or 10 people sitting there, and I'm talking and answering questions. So, I do. For some reason, if I'm doing a workshop and I'm teaching something, I'm animated, I'm cool. But when I'm talking about my books, it's kind of like, I get really shy because it's like, oh my God, you want me to talk about that scene? Oh God. Like my mom's in the room all the time. Like, that's how it feels. Like, do I really have to tell you like why I wrote that scene or why did they do that? And so I get really shy for some reason. So I think I'm a writer is an introvert and an author is an introvert pretending to be an extrovert. So you have to get your Sasha Fierce and keep it going. So
I can totally relate to that. What would you say to someone who, and I'm sure you get this question a lot from people attending your workshops. What would be let's say 3 steps somebody who wants to be successful in the romance genre would need to follow?
Read a lot of romance books, because you don't want to be clichéic and you don't want to make the mistakes that most romance books make. So read a lot is one thing. Number 2, write a lot. Write different scenes, write different scenarios, challenge yourself as a writer. Don't just stick with just romance. Try to bridge out and challenge yourself as a writer to mix other genres into your book, and don't be afraid, to write outside. If it's going to have a happily ever after, you're going to have a romance, but you want to give it kind of like a little bit more oomph, especially in this world where, 100,000 books are being published a month. So, and then number 1, don't be afraid of publishing and putting that book out. Don't be afraid of other people reading it. It's a love story. It's a story that everybody needs, that somebody needs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're somebody's cup of tea.
Yeah.
And if you put yourself into it, you research yourself, you have written and worked hard at it. When you put that book out, somebody is gonna eventually say, I needed that story. So yes, bless everybody with your gift, and don't worry about what comes back, because it's going to come back good,
Mm-hmm.
because you helped somebody in some kind of way. So those are my 3 tips.
Thank you. And I love this idea of blessing people with our gifts as writers, because we do have a wonderful gift and people really need it. So
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we started the interview, you mentioned that you went ahead and self-published your books. So that was back in 2000. Were you ever interested in being traditionally published?
Actually, yeah. Prior to that, I really joined other writers organizations,
Mm-hmm.
like 5 to 6 years previous to that. I dragged the kids to it, and we'd be sitting in meetings like shh,
Mm-hmm.
in the back, the baby's in the chair or something like that, or I always had like them with me. But we'd go to writers meetings, and I'd send out agent queries and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that, and get all the rejection letters. I don't even know where they are now, but I had a lot
Somewhere
of
burned, I
rejection.
hope.
Yeah, I hope it did. I hope they're all gone. But yeah, I got a lot of rejection letters, and the reason why I basically decided to do it, because I am a control freak. I know that. And also, back in 2000, when they had like a lot of vanity publishers coming out, and like you could get your book published for free, I actually did it for a friend, because she actually came to me with the company, and she was like, well, they said they're doing this kind of
Mm-hmm.
way, and I want to see if they really do it. So I was like, well, I'll just send my book in, because it was done and just sitting somewhere. And I was like, oh, I'll just send it out. And like 6 weeks later, I got a book on my porch, like a stork drop off a baby and stuff. So I was like, oh my God, I'm a writer. I'm an author
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I kind of like learned the business kind of backwards. I learned marketing first, and then I
Mm-hmm.
learned more about the publishing aspect. But yeah, I just kind of now, I've been approached by publishers, and, I feel like every once in a while, if there's a chance to sit down with the agent, I
Mm-hmm.
will. And I will send the book in, but I kind of always pull back out of negotiations, because after you write 50 books,
Yeah.
and they're kind of companion books. So I
Mm-hmm.
pull characters from other books.
Mm-hmm.
If I
Mm-hmm.
sold one book, I have to literally sell all the brothers
All the
and sisters
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
behind it. So it becomes like, you know what? Even though the distribution would be good, being out there, with you would be good, I'd still not get a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
you're
true.
asking me to sit back
Mm-hmm.
and allow you to pimp me.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm kind of like, at this point, after, you buy a house with your royalties, you're like, I'm good. I bought a house. I don't think you can give me anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay. You keep that over there. So I think right now, even if I do get an agent, I think I'll probably more go for doing just straight go to movies. I
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
can do my own stuff and just go,
Yeah.
either straight to movies or more or other kinds of media. Then I can do the printing and the publishing.
Yeah.
I'm looking for other media
Yeah.
to entertain me than just pushing it towards books, because when you do it so long, you're like, and you see the profit potential, you're like, yeah, you're not going to use me like that.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And especially when you get to build this the back catalog you have, like 50 titles, over 50,000 titles, that's a lot.
Right.
And especially when you get to build your own community like you did, then they come over and they want your assets, and they will
Right.
take, I don't know how much, 70 royalties they will get, and they will give you like,
Yeah, you don't
oh,
get a lot. And,
yeah.
that's kind of like, for all the work that I did do,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even though the payoff would be nice, you know, the lump sum would be nice, I'm kind of like, yeah,
I don't really
yeah,
need you guys, no.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Maybe for a movie or a TV
You're gonna
series
buy me
that,
another house on
yeah,
top of my house?
yeah, no, they would have to buy you an island, Sylvia,
At
baby.
this point, right? It's like my own city. Do I get my
Yeah.
own?
A city of writers. And I want to, because we are almost an hour, we are an hour into our
I'm
interview.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's a pleasure. And as I said, we could keep talking forever, but I don't want to leave out of our conversation the power of community and networking, because I know that's something that you that's dear to your heart, and
Hmm.
that's really important for authors who want to become
Right.
successful and serve people. Because as authors, I think we serve people, whether we entertain them or we inspire them
Hmm.
or we empower
Right.
them, we are making their lives better. So it's about being of service.
Right. And like you said in the beginning, like a lot of times when we're going to all these conferences and we're trying to study the business, we hear, okay, book selling, you got to do this, you got to buy this, you got to, you got to, you got to do all of this. And they take the human and the passion out of it. And the
Yeah.
reason why you got into all of this is because of the passion. But once you get saturated with the business part of it, you lose that passion.
Yeah.
And then when it's all over and they've spent all their money, they sit back and say, well, I still don't have enough readers. Well, it's because you forgot about how to show that passion. You've been stripped away from it. So I've always believed that you have to keep the passion going. You have to remember why you started this entire journey. Money is going to get you a lot of places, but your passion is going to open up those doors that's where you need to be, because your readers are your diehard readers are going to stick with you because of the passion and because you're putting yourself out there and helping other people. And like I say, community before book selling. You're out there being part of the community. You're out there showing your face and saying, you know, even if I don't sell a book, I help somebody else sell a book. You know, that's fine with me. Some people will call me and they'd be like last minute, like, oh my God, my person at my registration table just suddenly just not showing up, Sylvia. Can you come out here? And I'll go out there and I'm like, hey, I'm having fun. And they're like, oh my God, you're an author too. And why aren't you selling your books? And I'm like, no, it's not about me today. It's about me helping them out, and I'll be Facebooking it live, like, hey, we're here at her book signing and we're having fun, and sometimes just being a participant or a reader is fun.
Yeah.
When you've been an author for so long and, you get free food.
Free treats.
Yeah, and you have great time and you meet people and you meet even more readers. And it's so funny because I was helping one girl out and she had a large gathering and she needed so much help and no one was helping her. And I had actually come to enjoy it. And then I saw her struggling and I was like, well, do you want me to just go handle the door for you? And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. So I was helping her at the door and then she brought all these people in. And then she was like, do you have books in your car? And I was like, of course I got books in my car.
Always, yeah.
She had set up a small table. So she was like, and then in her introduction and she was reading her book and she was like, but this day could not have been done without the help of Sylvia. And she's going to sell her books over there. So you guys because people had already bought her books when they came in. And then she was like, go over there and please support her. And I ended up selling like all my books that night at her event. Like it was like so cool. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So like, yeah, I had no intentions of coming there selling books. I was like, girl, you don't have to. And she was like, you must go out there and sell your books, Sylvia, like, because you helped me out so much. And so like, you just sometimes, you know, you get blessed like that, you know. I was
Yeah,
blessed 'cause
yeah,
I
totally.
really didn't have gas money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I actually didn't need the money, but you know, I wasn't really trying to do something. So, you know, you stumble upon opportunities when you are putting yourself out in the community. And sometimes just networking, sometimes just going some places and saying, hey, I'm an author, but I'm not here to sell books, but I'm just
Mm-hmm.
here to network. And I found that people will call me back and say, hey, come to our career day or come talk to our seniors about writing their stories
Mm-hmm.
and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And then that's led to
Yeah.
other opportunities where I've gotten bigger and bigger stages of thousands of people who just want to hear me talk or
Mm-hmm.
listen
Mm-hmm.
to me. And that's been like a awesome opportunity, you know, just from me networking literally with other people and just helping other people out. So community before book selling works every time, and you keep that passion and you don't get, what is the word, like inundated or disheartened
Mm-hmm.
by
Mm-hmm.
the unsuccessful financial attempt.
Yeah.
I don't know how to really put that. You know, you don't get so disheartened by
Yeah.
it, because I actually put a question out in the group this morning about um, how has your paid promotion, how did the last paid promotion work? And a lot of people came in on the discussion saying how they were disheartened, how it just soured them to spending money because it just felt like it didn't work out. They
Yeah.
put money in and they didn't get the ROI, the return
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
investment
Yeah.
at all. And you really aren't going to get a return on investment when you just put money in. But when you put money and passion into it, I swear you will get return on investment on it. You will go out there and you will find that, yes, I did put money in this, but I also put passion and my time into it as well. And you find out that, hey, it worked out pretty well.
Thank you. That this is really inspiring and encouraging for I think for the end of our conversation for today. But I don't want you to leave just yet, really, because I would like to tell us a little bit more about the Modern Writers Network. How can we become part of it? Can we become part of it even though we live in Los Angeles, for example? So
Yeah, you can. You actually, anybody who subscribes at this point,
mm-hmm.
anybody who subscribes becomes automatically a member. To get featured on the page, you do have to either be a Michigan writer, or your book has to be based in Michigan, or
Mm-hmm.
you can be doing an event in Michigan and then say, hey, Sylvia, I'm coming to Michigan. Can you feature my event and me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, yes, it has to do something with Michigan. So yes, you can be a part of it. So yes, definitely. That's how you get featured. But otherwise, joining the network, joining even the Facebook group
Mm-hmm.
and coming there, asking questions, sharing your news, and just sharing your accomplishments, being an asset to the community,
Yeah.
that's always welcome. And people say, well, do you have to write this particular genre, or do you have
Mm-hmm.
to write that one? And that was the reason why I worked so hard to keep Motown Writers as it is, because it doesn't matter what you write. We all have a love for reading. We all have a love for words. We all are connected. We all are sisters and brothers in that sense, because we love words. So yeah, you're a member automatically because of that. You respect the book. You don't bend the pages. And you just
Right.
want to be able to share,
Mm-hmm.
your love of it and help others, and then find information on how to help yourself. So that makes you a member. So yes, you can join no matter what and get the information.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much
No problem.
for helping helping authors, helping the indie community, and being such an inspiration to all of us.